In this episode, we discuss what's happening in our kitchens, Jamie's adventures with apple cider vinegar body wash, sourdough, pie crust, farm, chickens, Kelsey, our number one fan, Jill Winger's prairie planner, Lard and the Crisco campaign against it, and home remedies to use for flu season. Stay tuned.
Welcome to the Homestead Podcast. You are joining co-hosts Carol and Jamie of twogalshomesteading.com. If you found yourself here, that means you are ready to take responsibility for what you eat, your family's health, and your family's well-being while living a simpler life. You can do this and have fun, saving money along the way. Let them help you unleash the homesteader within. By doing more with less, you will gain what is needed to create confidence, impact, and change in your life and the lives around you. Let's start homesteading. Let's start now.
We'd like to thank PeteCoSupply.com for co-sponsoring our podcast. So, Jamie,
Carol,
we haven't been together for a couple weeks here. We had a holiday in there.
Yep.
And so this is our first time back, and it is definitely winter in Minnesota.
Yeah.
Oh, that wind. We've had wind for 2 days now, and it is bitter.
And I think you're windier out here than we are in town.
Mm-hmm. Yep. You're a little more protected.
Yep.
And I swear it can be calm everywhere else and it's still windy here.
I got out of the car and thought, whoa, it's going to blow me away.
Yep. That wind is extremely cold. I don't know what the wind chill is, but I know it was like 15 degrees above zero. It's at least above zero.
Yeah.
This morning during milking. So what should we start with today?
Should we start with our kitchen? What's going on in our kitchen?
Let's start with what's going on in your kitchen.
I really amped up the sourdough production because I have a daughter that is sensitive to gluten.
Okay.
And so sourdough she's able to eat it and not have the stomach issues like with commercial bread. Mm-hmm. I wanted stuffing and I wanted her to be able to eat it. So I made 6 loaves of sourdough that week. Yeah, it was a lot of sourdough.
And you have a larger family.
Yes.
I mean, that would be a lot of bread for my family.
Oh, yeah, it was. And then I only ended up using 3 loaves for the stuffing.
Okay.
And so what I did is I went back to a recipe that I used when I first started making it, where you've got honey and olive oil in it, or an oil in it. And so it's a lighter, fluffier bread than traditional sourdough recipe.
It's chewy and
it's not as chewy. But then I made this, and then I took 3 loaves and I dehydrated it in my dehydrator so that it would be dry to start out with. And then I used my traditional recipe that I use out of my Better Homes and Garden cookbooks. And that I bought when I was 16.
Oh, those cookbooks are invaluable.
Yeah, that was the first cookbook I ever bought when I knew I needed to have that, and I've used it for years. And so I made stuffing traditional way, and then we went to my daughter's house and we had turkey. We had a traditional Thanksgiving.
And she was going to deep fat fry it. Did she do that?
Yes, they deep fat fried it. They injected butter under the skin.
Oh, yum.
And then they deep fat fried it, and it turned out really good. And so then I brought all the sides except pies.
Okay.
Our single sons, I tasked them with buying pies. Okay. So that would be one less thing.
And did they do okay?
No. I must admit, the pie, I ate one piece of pie, and whichever one it was, I don't know which one it was like the crust was not that great.
Isn't it interesting how a person kind of gets used to that homemade?
Yeah.
Once you make that adjustment and you buy something that is commercially made or whatever, it's like, it's kind of disappointing.
It is very disappointing.
And pie is not cheap to buy in the store.
No, I bet it was not cheap.
Yeah, it's not cheap. And then it doesn't taste like anything.
Yeah. So it's like if I had ate just the filling with because I made whipped cream with your cream off the milk. And so that would have been fine. But it was the crust that tasted almost cardboardy.
Okay.
And stuff. And, and for years I used to buy, the Pillsbury ready to roll pie crust because I didn't think I made a very good pie crust. And I go, even my crust is better than this. And so it's like, but it was a time issue for me running because I did all the sides. I did the potatoes, the carrots.
Yep. And that all takes time.
Yeah, you know,
and you're making bread from scratch.
Making bread from scratch. And it's like, one of my son that got a divorce. I'm like going, do you have a crock pot by chance? I need one more crock pot.
You should have asked me. You know, I'm the
I assumed you would be using them.
I didn't. I only used a couple of them actually. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah. So he did. He had a crock pot.
Awesome.
So I was able to. And I cheated with the corn. The corn was frozen, and I took that out and put it in the microwave and put butter on it.
Yep. Nothing wrong with that.
And so that was, but pretty much that has been, not a whole lot
else going on.
Yeah. Now I have potatoes to can.
Oh, yes.
I'm going to try. I did. Okay. So I canned 4 quarts of potatoes cut into French fries. Mm-hmm. And I opened one today for lunch and made French fries with it. Mm-hmm. I tried frying them on the stove and it seemed like it was taking forever. And so I took them and put them in the air fryer and they crisped up. They were pretty good. They were okay. Are they the best? No.
No, they're not.
But they're doable. And so
is there anything you would improve on it, or what do you think?
When I canned them, because I'm using an electric pressure canner, and I'm wondering if the one electric pressure canner is cooking them too hot because they look almost like they're overcooked. And these were, when I took them out, they were kind of mushy. Not mushy, but I could have smashed them with a fork, I bet. And so I'm like going, but do you want to undercook them or not? I've never pressure canned potatoes before.
I have done potatoes like if I have done like a canned a soup.
Yes.
But not for something where I'm going to like
pull it out.
Yeah, and use and fry them as fried potatoes. But I know people do it all the time.
So
now you dry canned them?
I did dry can them. And so I know that is a rebel recipe that, it's not endorsed by the government agencies. But, I don't always do what the government agencies tell me. Tells me good for me.
Rebel.
Yes, I try small ways. But anyway, so that's...
So it wasn't a total fail. It just didn't quite turn out like you thought it should.
Next time I probably won't try frying them in... Because I had fried I had fried bacon and I was trying to fry it in the bacon grease. And it was just...
It just didn't work.
Yeah, and I don't know if it was today because I was coming out here after I clean up and I have my granddaughter and I got to get her down for a nap. And so it's like maybe the patience wasn't there.
Yeah, maybe.
But I have potatoes because, as you know, one of our gas stations and the truck stops in the area had an awesome deal for the last 6 weeks of potatoes on sale for 99 cents a pound. And so every time I stop, I pick up a couple bags. And then they had onions, too, on sale. I have potatoes.
Stockpiled.
I have a stockpile. And actually, I moved them because where I store them out on an unheated back porch where there's no insulation on it's an old porch that they enclosed before we bought it. So there's no insulation on the bottom. And when it gets cold, that floor gets really cold. And so I actually moved them into an unheated room, afraid that they might freeze there on the floor. And so I'm like going, I really got to do something with these potatoes now.
Yeah. Okay. So what variety of potatoes did you use then?
They're russet.
They're russet potatoes.
See, I never thought about that.
Now the variety might make a difference too. Now russets are drier potato, right?
Yeah.
Because I use mostly yellow potatoes in my house, or your Yukons, that type of thing. Because I like a moister potato. But I wonder if that has anything to do with
that could be
how it turned out. I honestly don't know because, like I said, never canned potatoes. So
I wonder, it's like safety wise, if I decrease the cooking time by 5, is that going to jeopardize the quality of it? The botulism factor?
I don't know. Those are questions I cannot answer.
Can someone let them sit for a few weeks, eat them, and see if I get sick?
Yeah.
There we go.
And I don't know if that's real effective, but I know if it doesn't smell good, I am not going to eat it.
Oh, yeah, that would be me too.
Yep.
Yeah, I wouldn't eat it. But, other than that and general cooking, and I have not tried another sourdough cracker recipe, but you gave me a new recipe today to try.
Yes. I was chatting with Kelsey, who we talk about Kelsey quite often. We've gotten to be pretty good friends since she purchased her cow from me. And she was like, well, I'm on the treadmill this morning and I'm listening to your podcast. And here, have Jamie try this recipe. Cause I was saying this, I'm like, I think we talked about crackers, and she's like, yeah, you did. So that's to have her try this one. It's absolutely marvelous. It's really, really good recipe. So I forward that off to you, but it's kind of fun having a fan in that I get to interact with her.
Yeah. Actually, because at one point you had said, oh, we need to interview Chelsea. We need to
Kelsey.
Yep. Okay. We need to figure out how to do that.
Yeah.
Producer.
Yeah. She is actually talking about possibly bringing her cow down here to be bred.
By
the bull we have here currently. And so she's not quite positive on that or not, but maybe we can plan something.
How far
there.
out does she live from you?
She is 2.5 hours, I think.
Oh, so she's quite a ways.
Yeah.
Quite a ways out.
Yeah, she's quite a ways out.
Well, if she does come down and we can rearrange all our schedules, we will have to do that with her.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Yeah, she's got little kids too, so I'm not exactly sure. And she homeschools.
Oh.
So I'm not, but I know her mom is around somewhere.
Oh, okay.
So maybe we can do that. But I'm not, like I said, I'm not sure if she's going to bring her cow down here or not, because I can keep her cow in milk, because I can just milk Miss Poppy along with my rest of my cows, so it's not a big deal. It's not like just send it off to a bull and the cow won't get milked and all that stuff that happens. And so we'll see. She hasn't said anything. We've got like about a week and a half, I think, yet before Poppy goes back into heat. So we'll see if she...
Because didn't she buy a calf from you too?
Yeah, she bought a calf for the freezer. She bought a bull calf to be friends with Poppy's baby, which happens to be a heifer.
Oh, okay.
And they pulled the heifer off, and they wanted her to have a friend. And they're like, well, we're going to need beef for our freezer anyway. So I said, well, this is one way you can do that. You can have a friend for Ruthie, and you can raise Norman for your freezer. So that is kind of their plan. And then she's also spoke to me a little bit about possibly purchasing beef from us too, because they'll run out of beef before Norman is ready to go for the freezer. So...
Because that's a 2-year process.
Yeah, it was an 18 to 2-year process or whatever. And so she was really hoping that Poppy would have had a bull calf. That was what she was hoping for. Yeah, she was so shocked that she had a heifer. She was like, I wasn't expecting this. Now I don't know what to do.
Back to crackers. So I'll have to try Kelsey's recipe.
And see how that turns out.
Yeah, we'll see if we can get that done.
I swear she's got a cookbook at her side all the time. I ask her something and she's got a picture for me for a recipe for whatever. I'm like, seriously, did you sit next to your cookbooks or what? I
used to have I still have quite a few cookbooks. Yeah, you do too. But over the years, I've decluttered some ones that I worked for when I was in high school. I worked for a company that printed for like churches and stuff like that. And every time we printed one,
those are the best cookbooks.
I got one. If you're not using them, I passed them on. I donated them so that somebody else could. Because I do.
They're probably over here on my.
Yeah, they're probably on your shelf because I did donate them up here when we lived up here. So yeah, but I do like to go to thrift stores and look through old recipes and stuff like that. But yeah, space is limited. Even though I have an adequate sized kitchen, I'm still limited in where I can keep my cookbook.
And you do end up with your favorite cookbooks that you go back to all the time.
Well, and I'll get cookbooks from the library and read them like a novel.
I know you do. But see, I sit down and I just page through. I mark a bunch of recipes and I put the book back on the shelf, and then sometime later I pull back. I should have tried that recipe. That's me. But I love paging through recipe.
Yep.
I really
well, I'll use
that.
it, especially now that in the world of internet and Facebook and people recommending books and stuff. It's like, you go in and they're like a $30 cookbook. And I'm like going, I don't want to spend $30 if I know I'm not going to use it.
Yep.
I'll see if the library has it and get it and then peruse it. And if I saw a TikTok the other day and she says, that's what she does. She will get a book from the library. And if she finds 5 recipes in there that she likes, she'll buy the book then.
Oh,
she'll put it on her wish list, Amazon wish list. Heard that and I thought, well, that's a good idea. It's one thing if you get a book from the library and there's a recipe, then I would write that out and then be happy with it, not feel bad about not purchasing it.
Right.
Because I've had some recommended and they're on my Amazon wish list, but I'm like going, still like, it's still a $30 book.
Yeah. Yeah, they're kind of expensive. I don't know. I love my thrift stores. I love finding a cookbook that has got people have written in it. I mean, I don't.
I write it.
Yeah, I write all over my recipe books. Yeah. Yeah, I have my mom gave me the Betty Crocker cookbook when we got married, when Rich and I got married.
Okay.
And I still have that one. That's where my stuffing recipe comes out of
So I'm like, going,
for Thanksgiving, and my scalloped potato recipe. Those are the two things that I use out of that book.
Is it the Betty Crocker one's the one that's got the checkerboard, the gingham cover? That looks like it's a gingham.
No, I think that's Better Homes and Gardens.
Is that Better Homes and Gardens?
Betty Crocker always has it's usually red, and it has a picture of Betty Crocker in the corner.
Oh,
There's
no.
a woman in
Okay,
the
so
corner.
then this is Better Homes and Gardens.
Okay, yep.
Okay, because then my mom has a Better Homes and Garden bread book that she gets her biscuits and pancake recipe and everything.
Yep.
Because I'm like, I'm always confusing. But the Better Homes and Gardens, like, I spent $16 for it. And I was 16.
Ooh, yeah.
I bought that for my 16th birthday.
Yeah.
And so
I have cookbooks over there too. Like our church youth group put a cookbook together when I was in high school at some point, and that's still over there. I still use several recipes out of there. So
now I rely heavily on the internet.
Yes, so do I.
And so I print them out and then I write on them. One of my
3-ring binders over here with recipes in them.
Yep. One of my husband, he goes, she will use a recipe and she'll make it exactly to the recipe.
Yep.
And then it's never the same.
Exactly.
Because part of it is like, I don't have that herb. Let's throw this herb in. Or it's like, no, I don't want to use that. Let's substitute. I'll substitute if I don't have it. Like if it's gone.
Or I don't like that ingredient.
Yes. And then, now that, my husband is, he deals with inflammation and pain issues and stuff. And so he's limiting his carbs now. And I'm like going, I hardly make any pasta, anything anymore. I might throw a lasagna in there every now and then.
You ever tried the whole wheat pasta or
nope, he won't eat it. Nope.
Anything, where they have the flavored ones or whatever.
The lentil ones and stuff like that. Nope,
never.
He don't like
I've never tried any of those.
But then he was never a big, he was a white rice guy. He still likes his white rice, but he's eating wild rice.
Yes, you were telling me that.
And then quinoa. He tried quinoa this week.
Okay.
He goes, what does quinoa taste like? And how quinoa's like white rice. There's not much flavor by itself, but you put it with something and puts a sauce on it. And he's like, oh, okay. And so he put that with stir fry. Another thing, wild rice takes a little bit, even in Instant Pot, takes a little bit of time. It takes a half hour, 25 minutes. So I made up a batch and it's in jars, vacuum packed in my refrigerator. Because then I'm like, because I come home half hour before lunch, before noon, and it's like, I don't have time to cook. Because it's probably 40 minutes by the time it comes to pressure and then releases pressure and stuff. So it's like.
It takes a while, to bring it up and then for it to go back down and all that stuff. Yeah. So you're thinking, 20 minutes, but it's really much longer than that.
Yeah, it's like 40 minutes.
Yeah, it's like minutes, much longer than that.
So anyway, that's other than daily cooking meals and trying to do that stuff, but thinking towards Christmas and planning menus with my daughter, because my daughter's hosting again, because they have a bigger house. They have a bigger house.
Yep. So how's your apple cider vinegar hair wash and body wash and all that stuff?
I'm still using it for body wash.
Okay.
But hair, I was thinking the back of my hair where, the nape of your hair where it's usually you sweat the most and it's the dirtiest. I felt like it was not getting clean enough. And that might be just arm mobility because I fell this.
Oh, that's right.
I didn't fall. I tipped a chair over backwards and landed on a shoulder. And that's my right shoulder. And I'm right-handed. And so that's the one that you kind of get up and get back. And sometimes, some days it's really sore. So I did go back to shampooing my hair with Dr. Brenner's Castile soap.
Okay.
But I'm still using an apple cider rinse for a conditioner. And then when I get out, because I have natural curly hair, and natural curly hair is naturally frizzy. And so I do put it like a mousse on to kind of calm down the frizz. So I'm like not standing on end, not looking like I've been electrocuted or statically. I saw a video of the dog where the dog was like rolling on the couch and it was long hair and it was like, it was really funny. But yeah, so that's what I'm doing that. But body wash, that's still what I'm doing. And an interesting thing I've learned, like my husband says in the wintertime, I have heels that dry out so bad. That if I rub up against him with my heels, I'm lacerating them, making him bleed because they're so dry and so rough. And I work. I like pumice stone. I have a stainless steel file in the shower. I soak and use a pumice. Is it a pumice stone?
Yes.
On them, just to try it. And then I'm constantly putting on. I used to use a Vaseline based product. And then put that on and put my socks on so that, the sweat would soften on them. But I have not hardly put anything beside a little hand lotion on my heels. And so I'm like going, the only thing I'm doing different is I'm spraying my feet with apple cider vinegar.
That's interesting.
So I don't know if that's why my feet aren't as dry as they have been in the past. And I don't think, you haven't ever told me that I stink real bad.
Nope, I have not told you that. And
That
I
or
don't know if I actually would.
I don't know, you can tell me.
I'll tell Rich that he stinks, but
or I'll tell myself, it's like, oh, you need a shower.
so it's really working for your body.
I think
not
it's working
necessarily for your hair.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I'm still using apple cider vinegar. I'm using a vinegar, Dr. Brenner's vinegar rinse. I don't know the name of it, but it's his brand name, and I ordered it offline.
Okay, let's talk.
Well, how about the barn?
How about the barn? Yeah, we've had a little bit stuff going on here. We've had 2 calves born.
Little cuties.
Yeah, they're the Highlander crosses, and you cross a Highlander with a Jersey, and you end up with this adorable little calf. And both of them happen to be heifers. Dolly calved at, I don't know, what was it, like 1:30 in the morning, something like that.
We had been out here.
Yes.
And
nope. That was Ambrosia.
Oh,
Nope.
okay.
Dolly calved first. Yeah, I had seen her at milking time, and Rich was like, boy, I don't know, I think she might go here in the next 24 hours or whatever. And so I went back out and checked her at 9:30, and I was like, no, she's just kind of laying there just doing her own thing, whatever. And then I just happened to wake up at 1:30 in the morning, and I thought, maybe I should go check on her just to make sure. And it was it was really cold that night, I think. I don't remember. I was thinking it was below freezing. I don't remember what the temperature was, 15 degrees, something like that. I don't remember what it was. And I got out there, and yeah, she was in hard labor. So I come back all the way up back to the house because she's in the winter paddock, and that's a little bit of a trip up here. And I got Rich up, and I said, well, we either need to move her or let her calve out there, and you can carry the calf back up to the barn. Well, it was easier to move the cow, although she was not happy with us. She had chosen her spot to have her baby. And
then you moved
we were like, no, you can't have your baby here. You need to come into the barn where we can make sure everything's warm, not in the wind, and it's warmer, and we have light. We can see what we're doing, not have to work by flashlights, because we've done that before.
No, I'm sure.
So it took us a little while to get her up, and she's laboring, so she stops every time she pushes, and we got feet coming out, going back in, feet going out, come back in, type thing. But by the time we got her to the barn, then of course, everything's new. So she's like, okay, well, we'll just wait here for a couple of minutes with everything. And she finally got down to business, and we had a beautiful little heifer born in there, and it worked out really, really nice having her in the barn. And then we left her there for about 36 hours. And then we decided we needed to milk her. And so then we separated her from her calf, because I knew her calf was going up for sale. So the calf has to become a bottle baby. And it's too cold for our cows to keep calves now.
Oh, yeah.
Them. So that was basically Dolly. So we got little Annie. And the night you guys were here, we had a cow possibly going into labor. And yes, she did deliver she delivered shortly after you guys
we left. We left late.
Yeah, I don't know, 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, whatever. And she had her calf. And Rich knew that. I did not. I had gone to bed before you guys had left because I was so tired. I went out at it must have been 3 o'clock in the morning. I'd woke up and I thought, maybe I should go check on her. So I went out and checked on her, and she was just frantic. I could hear her mooing already at the house. I could hear her crying, and I was like, oh, well, maybe she's in trouble having this calf, not knowing the calf had already been born. So I went out there, and I found her, and she's just pacing the fence line. And of course, I've got at least 2 dogs with me, and that when you have a cow who's protecting a baby or in labor, she does not like dogs. And I thought maybe they were setting her off. And I was like, no, I looked at her. I'm like, oh, no, you don't have a baby inside anymore. A baby's out somewhere. So now I get to search a pasture or a winter paddock anyway and try to find a calf in
It was
a
cold.
lot of weeds. It was very cold. I did finally find the baby, but the baby was on the other side of the fence line. So it was actually in a different paddock. It was in the paddock next to it, and she couldn't get to the baby. Baby was just fine. Baby's taking a nap. Baby didn't care. I was like, okay, so luckily baby is extremely small. I mean, the Highlander Jersey calves are usually 35 pounds, maybe 40 pounds. So they're pretty easy. So I was able to pick her up. So I picked the baby up and brought her back into the pasture, and then I got her reunited with Ambrosia, and then everything was fine. But yeah, she was just frantic. And as I'm out there, I'm hearing the coyotes yelping, and it's no wonder she's frantic because she knows she's got a newborn, and I'm sure she can hear them just as well as I can. And I was like, that's the last thing we need is you running off the wrong direction and being, 2, 3, 6 acres away from mama.
Yeah.
And, type thing. And so we left her on mom for probably about the same time, about 36 hours. That way I know baby's gotten all the colostrum they want. So I brought Pistachio up. She's been off mom now for, let's see, what do we do? 3rd feeding now, bottle feeding on her, and she's leaving on Sunday. And I believe Annie's leaving on Saturday. So we will not have any bottle calves over winter. And this will be the first winter since we started milking, when I started milking Daisy back in 2012.
Might be an semi-easy winter.
Yeah. So it will be kind of nice. Now we'll still have calves to feed, but we won't have anything that we need to bottle or worry about warm milk, that type of thing. So unless for some reason some heifer decides to surprise me, but we haven't had a bull up here
until just now,
just recently. So we shouldn't have any winter calves, but we had some cows escape. Some of our heifers go out wandering, and we do have neighbors with bulls, and so it's possible, but I don't know how probable. But yeah. So unless somebody surprises me like that, we should not have any calves over the winter. We'll have late spring. Yep,
it's
9 months.
9 months. So.
9 months, just like it is with humans.
So you're shooting for next summer to have?
Yes, I do believe my first cow is due in May sometime. I don't even have anybody coming in March or April, which is fine with me because it's always so muddy out here,
muddy and
it's kind of icky for having babies.
Yeah.
So depending on how much snow we get over the winter and how much rain we get in the spring, I don't mind calving a little bit later. That works for me. And of course, we're breeding right now. We're breeding for late summer, early fall calving right now. Anybody who's bred will be due about September. That works for me too. I don't mind having fall calves. But most of them will be Highlander crosses, and they'll probably mostly go up for sale because they make really good homestead cows, and they make really good beef cows too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's basically what's happened. Besides, we talked about chickens a while back.
Family-owned PeteCoSupply.com brings small-town customer service to their online farm store. PeteCoSupply.com specializes in automatic waterers from top brands such as Miraco, Jug, Franklin, Trojan, and Ritchie, as well as other products for your operation. Find your farm supplies and automatic waterers at PeteCoSupply.com. That's PeteCo Supply.com. PeteCo Supply.
And I do have my coop is winterized now. I've got my lights in. So my lights come on at 4:30 in the morning, shut off at 7
in the morning.
I will adjust those as time changes here. I've already changed it. I've actually started it a little bit earlier. Yep, I went a little bit earlier because sun's setting earlier, so I want to make sure I get that 12 hours. Because lately I've been closing my coop at night, and so I do it before we do chores. And so we start chores between 4 p.m. and 4:30, and so I go out there first and check on the chickens. They're already roosting. They're all roosting by 4:30, and it's not even dark yet.
No, but it's getting
it's going. Yeah, we're getting dusk, or whatever. But they're all already
because it starts by 5:30.
Mm-hmm. Wow, you girls are all up here on the roost already. Wow, I didn't realize they quite that early, and I was like, well, which is fine, doesn't make any difference to me. But I'm still getting. I got 6 eggs. That's the least eggs I got one day. And today I got 12.
Oh, they're still working.
They're still working. So, and I have yet to have any frozen eggs.
Oh, okay.
It's not been quite cold enough yet.
Because you collect them daily, don't you?
I collect them daily. Yep. And my chickens are late layers. So I collect about 11 o'clock because nobody's an early bird out there for laying eggs. But I haven't gotten any frozen eggs yet. But, it hasn't really been cold for an extended period of time where it's below zero, where the coop is actually fairly warm considering it's insulated to a point, but it's really not. I don't have any heat source in there. Yeah. Besides I have my chicken water is heated and I have a light that comes on, but it's just an LED light.
Oh yeah.
So and then it only comes on for 3 hours, 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
2.5 hours.
As soon as it goes off, it would cool off.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. And it's not a heat lamp, but they're doing fine out there. They look good and they seem happy since they're laying plenty of eggs for me yet. We'll see come January.
So
that might change.
So did they molt?
No, mine did not. Now, speaking of that, Rich was telling me that he was listening to a podcast. I don't remember. I think it was a podcast or maybe he was reading, but they were saying the first year chickens tend to lay all winter long. They might not lay as heavy, but they tend to lay all winter long. But then come year 2, they molt and they need to take time off. And so the second year you have your chickens, the second winter you have your chickens, they probably won't lay like they did that very first year. And so I was like, oh, that's really interesting, because I was thinking, God, that year that I thought, gosh, they laid all winter long for me. Yeah, that was their first year because Madison we had gotten chickens in the spring for her to show at the fair. And that would have been the first winter they went through. And I had eggs all winter long. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, that was genius. People that had done this, I think it was in a video. It was from the Little Red Farm. They're very pro small farm and everything. They're very interesting to follow. It should be somebody you should follow if you want to follow. They do have a store. They do raw milk sales and all kinds of stuff in there. They're very informative. They have a lot of information. I believe they have a Facebook page. I'm pretty sure I belong to their Facebook page. She's very pro, support your small farmers, buy local, that type of thing. And she's very interesting. Okay. Let's see, anything else? That's probably about all that's happened
on the farm?
Besides, we're just getting into winter mode here, and I have lots of milk now with my 2 cows that just calved in. So I'm milking 15 cows. Our butter churn broke this week.
That was heart-stopping.
Yes. So we have all this extra milk right now. So we're gearing up for butter because we really haven't had a whole lot of butter because I've been selling so much milk. So now
you had the 3 calves on Bob.
Yep. We pulled those calves and we had 2 cows calve in. So now we're getting lots more milk. And so we're like, okay, let's ramp up. Christmas is coming. I need to and the butter churn breaks on Monday. We're just like, okay, we might be shaking butter in a jar here. I don't know. Anyway, so Rich is like, well, I don't know. I'm like, can you order a part? Blah, blah, blah. And we have a Milky butter churn from Milky Day. And so he goes on the website and he's like, oh, I can't find anything that just for ordering that particular part. And the part was plastic. So, and then all of a sudden he's like, I bet Bob can make this for us. And so off he goes to see your husband.
Yes.
And yes, Bob did manage to machine a new part for us. And
it's out of, I don't know, aluminum?
No, aluminum, I think.
Aluminum.
Yep.
So it should not break as easily.
Hopefully. Well, it churned butter yesterday for us. And so we're back making butter again. Hopefully we can get a couple batches so we can get caught up.
What is Carol doing? Carol's making butter.
Yep. Carol's making lots of butter. But that's okay because we need butter right now. It's, like you said, it's baking season. We're in the Christmas season right now and we need butter. And so here we go. But that was really fortunate that we have somebody who's a friend and close by that could actually
I was
fix
glad
it for
that
us.
he could fix that for you.
Yeah. Well, you love our butter.
Yeah, I love your butter.
Now I'm indebted to her for butter. So
it's like self-service here. It's like yes, I want Carol's butter. I've been reduced to buying butter. Or buying butter from the store, not from Carol.
Yeah. But anyway, so that was the other thing that I guess that happened.
The major thing that happened in the kitchen.
In the kitchen, and it kind of affects the whole realm of things here that happens. And then I guess our main topic today we were going to talk a little bit about lard.
Yes, because that happened in your kitchen.
Yeah, that happened in my kitchen. I've done, this is my second batch of lard this season. So this time I did leaf lard.
Yes.
And this is from my pigs. We don't have a whole lot of fat that comes off of our cattle because they're 100% grass fed.
Yeah, so you don't get a lot of beef tallow.
No, we don't, because if you want to have any fat at all in your ground beef, they almost have to utilize that tallow to get that you don't have.
And the ground beef we've gotten from you is very, very lean.
It's very, very lean. Yep. Anyway, so I have like 40 some pounds of pig fat over at the
butchers.
At the butcher. So I was like, do I have some more over there? He's, oh yeah, I got like 40 pounds over here. What, you need some? And I'm like, yes, I do need some. I'm going to be utilizing it here. I had done a post on Facebook and Instagram about, me rendering lard in a crock pot because that's how I do it. And so then I thought, well, maybe I should take a look at if there's benefits to lard or whatever. And so I went down that rabbit hole. And so I found myself on Mommy Papamas. And she does rendering in the crock pot as well. And she had a little thing on there about why she uses lard, why you should use it. Here's her reasons. And she had like, I don't know, maybe 6 reasons on there. Her first reason, and this is something I did not know. She mentioned that lard, pig lard, is the second richest source of vitamin D. According to Sally Fallon's Nourishing Tradition, there is, in 1 tablespoon of lard, there's up to 1,100 units of vitamin D in it.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, that is really interesting. It's second to cod liver oil. Cod
Okay.
liver oil's got the most. I thought that was really interesting. The only thing is that it's got to be a pastured pig.
Yes.
So it cannot come from a confinement farm where all the pigs are raised inside. That type of thing. And ours are outdoors all the time. They don't even have a shelter in the winter.
No, they just got their pile of hay.
Yep, they've got their pile of hay, straw, whatever, and they bury themselves in there, and they do just fine that way. But I thought that was really interesting, and my first thought was, oh my goodness, I can take Chastity off of one of her medications if I use the lard from our pigs.
Oh,
and if you know me, I want her on the minimum amount of medications possible.
Yes.
And I mean, she really isn't on that many anyway, but I'm just like, that is just one more I can eliminate now. I haven't done that yet because I have this bottle of vitamin D that I would prefer to use up before I start that. And I figure I've got 40 pounds of lard over there. What a nice way. She needs to have fat in her diet anyway. So she has avocado is what I use. I use a whole avocado in her diet. And that's what I usually use for her fat. But now I can actually give her lard and eliminate a medication. I'll probably still do the avocado because it's good for her.
It's got other
nutritions, but that was what I used for a good fat for her. And what a nice way to be able to utilize something that we raised.
Actually, so when you said start talking about lard, and then let's put it up, let's talk about it. I went down. I didn't.
You went down a different rabbit hole.
I went down a different rabbit hole this morning for a little bit, but I found some more benefits to using lard. The biggest one is it's high heat. You can cook with it. So I have in the past we make donuts on Christmas morning. We have for 26 years.
Right.
So I've always used lard for that. And then actually it's heart healthy. We were talking about why has fat in the United States been villainized and made, stated to be bad for us. It comes back to, it was a campaign by Procter & Gamble. They had, back in the 1800s, they had cottonseed oil. They had cottonseed. And what do you do with, they didn't know what to do with cottonseed. It's a company and it's like, okay, we got this product. How are we going to make money? And through, a process, using chemicals and stuff and high heat, they made cottonseed oil, which is one of the worst oils for you. But they took that and they made it into a lard substitute, which we know as Crisco. And so it was a campaign thing to replace lard and butter usage with Crisco so that people would buy Crisco and stuff, and that it was villainized that, the high cholesterol and the animal fats were bad for you and everything. And so that's what I have been taught my whole life. That's what I believed. And, we lived through the 80s and 90s where low fat and everything. And, it's still to this day, I kind of still have to say it and think, no, fat is good. Fat is not the enemy that we have been made out to be.
Right. Yeah. It's very interesting how they can change your thinking with the ad campaigns like that. I had read that quite a few years ago about how Crisco came about. Wow, that is just really interesting to see how a company with enough money can change something that's our ancestors ate for years and years.
Yeah, you're sitting thinking about our parents, great-grandparents and grandparents didn't die of high cholesterol, didn't have anything stated about high cholesterol.
Have you ever done any research on heart disease and how they say how heart disease shows up about the time that the Crisco starts? And it's interesting.
I hadn't gone down that rabbit hole.
I'm not going to quote a whole lot of things, but I know that they say that heart disease didn't really exist until we started manufacturing things that aren't
the ultra processed food.
And that type of thing. That heart disease really didn't exist before that.
Well, other health issues in that article, I found this article on darlenegourmet.com is about. I was looking for rendering. She had history of lard and stuff like that, and that was in her article there. It was a really good, interesting article about that, and it was through her website. She had linked to another website where it talked about the 10 reasons why you should use lard, and that was one of and one of them was heart health. That's good because I love my butter, and I love cooking with it. And, but I remember if you were going to cook with lard, that you had to. I don't know how. I haven't really investigated, but like my mom's sugar cookies, it states that in the recipe it calls for shortening, which would be Crisco.
Right.
And I quit making those because I quit using shortening. I thought
Yep.
But I wonder if you can just replace that with butter. So if it called for 3/4 of a cup of shortening, would you use 3/4 of a cup of butter?
The only thing I know about that is that because of the different heat points, like butter cookies have a tendency to be like flatter.
Okay, they spread out.
Yeah, they spread out. If I remember right from my reading, I've read about this stuff before.
Yeah, I don't remember.
If you change stuff like that, then you end up, your texture of your cookie changes. Because, for me, I don't use oil in my cooking a whole lot, in my baking and stuff. I replace it with applesauce, and I have really never noticed any real difference. But I've never tried using applesauce as a replacement in a cookie.
Why are you replacing your oil with applesauce? Is it because the oil was supposed to be bad for you?
Yes. And I don't like that oily flavor, honestly.
Oh, okay.
Like my pumpkin bars call for
oil,
cup of oil.
Oh.
And I was like, I don't want to eat that, So oh my gosh, this is years ago. Madison was probably little when I researched that and figured out, and she's 24 now. And so I've been using applesauce as a substitute probably for 20 some years.
Well, yeah, I've heard that, and it was partly because of the heart health issue is that you should replace your oil with applesauce because for a healthy version.
Right. And the other reason was probably because we had 2 apple trees in the backyard, and I had so much applesauce. So it's an easy way to try to use up some of it, some of it. I really can't say for sure why I decided that, besides I don't like oil.
Yeah.
I'm not really a fan of vegetable oil. I'm not.
Well,
I
yeah,
never have been.
I haven't used vegetable oil in years, but I use avocado oil and olive oil. Now I'm selective about my olive oil because I don't like olive oil to make mayonnaise. No, don't like it. But avocado oil, I don't know if it has a more neutral flavor. If I don't mind putting that, but I don't make my own mayonnaise very often. I don't use a whole lot of mayonnaise.
Well, we don't eat mayonnaise in our house.
Well, I like mayonnaise. I just don't eat a lot of it.
Let's see. Let's go back to lard again. Okay, so yeah, I had seen that about the being heart healthy, and it talked about and I don't even know how to say this word. That lard is 45% OLEIC acid. I don't know how to pronounce that word.
Yeah, I don't either.
And it happens to be a monounsaturated fat that's found in olive oil.
Yep. So that's the good fat.
That's the good fat. And so the
good cholesterol.
Yeah, the monounsaturated fats are responsible for lowering LDL levels while leaving HDL, which is your good cholesterol levels, alone. And people are like, oh, you got to stay away from all the fats and everything if you have heart problems or whatever. And it's so wrong. It's just so wrong.
Especially if it's like yours, if it's pasture raised.
Yeah. The other thing is that pig fat or lard is actually sustainable, and it's affordable, and it's easy to find. Pigs can live anywhere.
Yep. Any conditions.
Yeah, in any conditions. They can live in wherever. They're very, very adaptable, and it's pretty easy to find them. The only problem is finding the healthy ones, the ones that are pasture raised, because most pork today in the grocery store, and probably most lard you find in the grocery store, is not the lard that you would find off the pigs that I raise.
And actually, I have looked at buying lard in the store, and most of it is hydrogenated. Yep. So it's not healthy for you whatsoever.
Yep. A person really needs to rethink their health and how food affects you.
Yes.
I don't know, pig fat, whatever. But, our ancestors were really smart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You sit and think about, 100 years ago, that's what
probably
they used.
More than 100 years ago.
Yeah.
If they were making Crisco or something like Crisco in the 1800s.
Yeah.
That's over 100 years ago. We're in 2022.
Yeah. But I'm sure they're, they did probably not become mainstream in every, general store out here on the prairies.
Right.
Until later, until they could move products quickly.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. And let's see. You also mentioned that it's a versatile fat, and it has a really high smoke point. The smoke point is, I read that it was at 370. I didn't go that far. That's the smoke point. At least that's what Mommy Papamus said. she said your lard is probably your secret ingredient to most of those blue ribbon or purple ribbon pie crusts that you see at the fairs, at the county fairs, the state fairs and stuff like that, that most pie crust or pastry people, use lard because
they're flaky. Yep.
Yeah. And I will tell you, I did not have lard for our pie crust at Thanksgiving. And so I used all butter. And Madison helped me. I made the crust and whatever, and she did all the pinching and everything. And we had this beautiful crust because I made single crust pies. I made a pecan pie and a pumpkin pie. She had this beautiful pie crust. And so I pop it back in the refrigerator, because she's primped it and done all of her fancy stuff before I put the filling in. And in the oven, it all just kind of sank. And that's because it's butter.
Butter.
Yep. And, you never have a real flaky crust when you use all butter. And I know that because I've done all butter before, but I was just so disappointed because it's like, oh, I wish I would have had some lard on hand.
Yeah.
Because that would have really, I think that would have helped, keep the shape of what she had done. And she had done a really nice job. And it still looked okay. It just wasn't as pretty after it was baked.
So how'd it taste though?
Oh, it tasted good.
It was that better.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. But yeah, I would probably next time, because now I have lard again. So for Christmas, it'll be different. But I was like, oh, it was pretty.
I'd be interested. I want to take my mom's sugar cookie recipe and replace it, the shortening with lard 1-to-1 and see how that works.
Yep. And then
you got to start somewhere. But that was the holy grail of cookie recipes when we were kids. Mm-hmm. I mean, we didn't do a lot of Christmas baking cookie type stuff at our house, but we made sugar cookies. And they weren't always we didn't always roll them out and cut them. A lot of times we rolled them into balls and then put them on a cookie tray. And then you took a glass that had a pattern or something on the bottom of it and you dipped it in the sugar and then you smushed them down. Is that a term?
Yep.
Smushed them out. And so whatever pattern was on the glass, that was that was your cookie. And then you would sprinkle them maybe with colored sugar, but not a lot of times it was just plain white sugar cookie.
We never did that way. We rolled all our cookies and then we put frosting on it and then we put sprinkles on top of it. That was the Christmas cookie I grew up with. And of course, my mom used shortening. We used butter on our table. Everything else was made with margarine.
Oh yeah,
margarine was cheap. Oh my goodness, it was cheap. You could buy like a pound for 25 cents or something. Yeah. It was cheap or 3 for $1 or something like that. All of our cookies were made with margarine.
Yep. We raised hogs when I was in junior high, so we would have lard around. Mm-hmm. But I remember Mom buying butter at the store in a big, big 1 pound tub. Mm-hmm. But then they had food coloring packets there right beside it that if you wanted yellow butter, you could put yellow food coloring in your butter to make it yellow.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I remember in the store they had it as a kid. I'm like going, no, that's really strange, but that was it. But yeah, we baked with Crisco, and but then we did. If we had lard, we would bake with lard.
I remember when butter flavored Crisco came out.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah, that was the 80s or 90s, wasn't it?
The 80s. I was still living at home, so we have to be in the 80s somewhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, I rember that. And then it was in you could buy it in like a stick or whatever, so it was almost like butter, so you could actually measure it out.
It was easy to measure.
Yep, it was. They made it really, really convenient for those home cooks who wanted to use that or whatever. And my mom used it in her house.
And they did the best that they could, and
with the knowledge they had.
Yep, and they used the campaign. That was what was taught to them, and that's what you believe until you learn different. I mean, I remember being taught that butter and all that was bad in the 80s. When I moved out, I remember when I was living on my own that we had a friend that was worked in the county extension, and she did a class on. I don't even remember what it was, but she talked about how bad butter was for you.
Oh, how interesting.
Yeah, that, the cholesterol and everything, and it was bad. And so that's when I was like, oh, didn't know that.
We, like I said, we always had real butter. We always had real butter on the table. But other than that, no. And I remember when Rich and I got married, he was like, no, I come from a dairy family. We will always have real butter in the house. Not that we didn't have margarine as well, but when it came to the table and putting it on bread and all that kind of stuff, it was always butter.
I hate to say it, when Bob and I met, it was margarine.
Well, it was cheap.
His mom, I can't see his mom using, but maybe she did use margarine, especially maybe after his dad passed away when he was 16. And so maybe after his dad passed away, that's what she bought. I bet 10 years ago, I bought butter for me and I bought margarine for him and the kids.
Okay.
And the kids used whatever was out. But yeah, I'm like, I know I want to have butter.
Yep. And see, I never liked the flavor of margarine anyway. So I would never put margarine on my bread
And
or
it's
anything.
acquired taste like a lot of other things in our life that, you know, we shouldn't.
Yeah, I never liked it. I mean, it was okay in cookies and stuff. I mean, my mom's cookies were just fine, whatever. But to put it on, no, it had to be butter. Of course, we use butter exclusively in our house now. We don't.
Oh yeah, we do too.
I haven't bought margarine in years.
It's probably been 4 or 5 years that I haven't bought margarine. I buy butter. All of a sudden, he converted, and I'm like, yes.
If you're going to use lard or you're going to buy pig fat, just make sure you know where the conditions that pig was raised in. That would be my biggest thing, is make sure it's seen sunshine and happy days and all that type of stuff, because you're not doing yourself any favors if buying lard at the store from a conventionally commercially raised hog that's been raised in a barn.
Because I know I've bought back in 2000 when it was all the hog, you know, farmers could not get their hogs to market. There was no place to process them. Mm-hmm. If I did buy hogs from a local friend that, you know, he has a confinement, and I bought from there. And so it's like, I did what we did. They were an awesome price, and I bought lard from him because he had it. Uh-huh. But what was really funny is I bought it a bucket, and I learned I don't remember which side was that, but I had froze a lot of it. Mm-hmm. And I still have some of that in the freezer, but the stuff that I left in the bucket started molding. And I found out why. Okay. It was not either cooked long enough to get all the water out of it, or it wasn't strained well enough to get all the cracklings out of it. Okay. And so that left food particles or water in the lard, and that will make your lard
mold or go rancid and whatever.
Yeah, go rancid faster. Mm-hmm. And actually, that was one thing I said, read, is that, like you said, you rendered it and put it in a glass jar, and it said that it was shelf stable now. And so you wouldn't have to can it, you know, with canning lids or anything, that it should be fine for up to a year. And so that, you know, I was always saying, no, you need to keep that in the refrigerator because it'll go rancid. I mean, as long as you strained it really well and cooked it long enough to get all the water out, it should be shelf stable.
It should be shelf stable.
And if you wanted to go longer, if you put it in the freezer, it would be good for longer. And I thought that was interesting.
Yes. It's, you know, you don't think about putting some of this stuff on the shelf.
No. I would have found room in my extra. I would either freeze it or I'd find extra room in my refrigerator. So the stuff that did mold, I still have some of that in the freezer. You know, it's 2 years old and I'm still using it. But yeah, I'm glad I put it in the freezer. And I vacuum packed it and put it in the freezer. So it'll last, I'm sure, another year or so in there.
Well, I actually saw a jar of lard I made when we were still living in the trailer house out here. So it would be prior to 2012. And that lard is still good in that jar. It's just in a glass peanut butter jar, old jar somebody gave me with a lid on it. And looks exactly like it did the day I put it in there.
So you didn't open it or anything? Hmm? Oh, okay.
No, I don't have to use it at the moment. So I was like, oh, well, look at there.
You could have had it for pie.
Yes, I could have, but I had discovered it when I was monkeying around in one of my closets or one of my pantries. And I was like, oh, look at there. Oh, I'm like, what is this? You know, and I'm like, oh gosh, that's lard. And I haven't done lard, you know, since we lived in the trailer house. So I know it has to be prior to 2012 because we moved into this house in September of 2012. Oh, so it does stay. Well, I haven't opened it yet. Maybe it stinks. I don't know, but it looked okay in the jar.
That would be interesting. Yeah. Open that.
I should open it, shouldn't
I? You should open it and see.
I should open it and see.
But I wouldn't get rid of it even whisk, because back to the one good use that a Crisco has for you as a homesteader, as somebody that survival thing is not to use it as food, but you take and you put a wick in it. Yep. Either like a popsicle stick or something like that. Put a wick in it and turn it into a candle.
Yep. I have read that.
So I do have one of the tiny Crisco jars in my house, and that's all it is it's for when the lights go out. That's the only reason I have candles in my house. I don't burn candles for fragrance or anything. Mm-hmm. I only burn them when the power goes out and we need them. And so that's why I have it. Not that I have anything in it for a wick.
but you'll make one, won't you?
I'll make one when last time it was at night when it was dark. So I should get that out and try it now. But anyway, so that's the only good thing that I know Crisco is good for.
At least you have a use for it, right?
Yeah.
And, okay, so well, I'll have to try to open it. Let's go back to my kitchen for a second. I forgot to talk about I made homemade summer sausage.
Oh, that's right.
Yes, I completely forgot about that. I was just thinking I have some.
We need to write things down daily. Okay, what did we do? Journals.
I was thinking, gosh, I have another bag because I started another batch and it's still curing or flavoring, whatever. It's sitting in the refrigerator waiting for me to bake it. But that was a really simple recipe.
Because it kind of looked basically like a meatloaf, had spices and stuff, and you shaped it like summer sausage. I mean, it was good.
Yeah,
we had some Saturday night when we were here.
Right, and it turned out. I mean, it certainly doesn't taste like store-bought, and I didn't use a casing. I just wrapped it. I did it 3 different ways. I did one without a wrap. I did one with tin foil, which I'm not real crazy about aluminum foil, and then I did the other one. I did in parchment paper. Honestly, I don't know if any of them tasted any different than the others. The one I started when we decided to eat them, when we tried them, I started with the one that hadn't been wrapped because I figured that was going to be the driest one, and we probably want to eat that one as soon as possible. And it maybe lasted 2 hours in my house. I had one slice, and Rich ate the rest of the roll.
It was good, Rich. He got his protein for the day and the next.
Yes. And so, but it was a really simple recipe. I found it on allrecipes.com, and it was called Sandy's Summer Sausage. And it just had liquid smoke in it, mustard seed, Morton's Tender Quick here, and pepper. I think that was all that was in it. Yeah. And I think it took 2 pounds of meat, and I made 3 logs out of it. So Rich ate, 3/4 of a pound of beef that day. I don't know. But yeah, it was really easy. And, it said you could add some things like paprika or whatever, but I just,
you could put almost any spices in there you want. Like garlic powder, onion powder.
Oh, it did have garlic powder in it. Okay. And then I read somewhere else that somebody was like, if you like it a little bit saltier, then don't use garlic powder, use garlic salt.
Oh, yeah.
But I thought it was okay the way it was.
Yeah, it tasted good.
It was easy to make. I mean, I did leave it sit in the refrigerator, and I put it in a Ziploc bag, and then I kind of re-stirred it or whatever.
Oh, okay.
And I left it in there for 3 days.
So you kind of let it marinate.
Yeah, marinate kind of just to flavor it better, because I had read in the comments, they're like, well, this is what I did. And I thought, well, why not leave it, flavor a little bit longer. So it worked out really well. And like I said, I've got another batch going. This time I'm doing 4 pounds. So you can see it was a hit in my house. And
so is that 3rd log gone already?
Yes, I think so. I think Rich ate that one too. But I cooked it for 90 minutes in the oven, and then I took it out, let it cool, and then put it in the refrigerator.
It at what temperature?
It was either 350 or 325. I don't remember. Okay. For 90 minutes, and then let it cool. I put it in a plastic bag, and then put it in the refrigerator, and it needed to sit in there for 12 hours before you ate it.
For your slices.
Yep. And so that's how it turned out.
I will have to try that. I'll try the cookie recipe, or not the cookie, the cracker recipe.
Yeah. Yes, and then we can have homemade sausage with your
We'll have
crackers.
To buy store-bought cheese.
Yeah, well, I do have I have that one cheese that I did make, that raw farm, hard, and I still have some of that, but it tastes okay, but it's not a cheese that I would probably make again.
Oh, okay.
I probably would not
our
make
feta
again.
cheese should be done next week.
Yeah, what did I tell you?
The 7th.
The 7th. Okay.
So it's 30 days that needed to be brined, right? That would be next week sometime.
Yep.
So next Wednesday. So maybe next week we'll get together.
Yeah, maybe we can get together and see how that turned out.
Because I opened my it's in my refrigerator, and I open them like, oh yeah, that's that cheese.
And that's from Cultures for Health. That was a recipe we took off of theirs from their fresh cheese kit. Kind of anxious to try that because you are a feta cheese fan. I have yet to find a feta cheese I like. We will see how this turned out.
Maybe I get a whole brick of feta cheese. They had an awesome sale for Black Friday.
Yes, I saw that.
And I went in and bought the cultures that I use for my vegetables. Did I tell you I made kimchi?
No.
Or kind of a form of kimchi. I was gifted a 12-pound head of cabbage.
That's a big one.
That's a big cabbage.
Yep.
And my husband goes, can you make kimchi? And so after researching, it's like, yeah, but...
Wrong season. Probably?
Wrong cabbage.
Wrong cabbage. Oh, okay.
You make it, traditionally it's made with a Napa cabbage. And this was just a regular cabbage. Mm-hmm. But then I couldn't find a daikon radish. So I just used radishes. and I winged it. And then I had 2 jars of kimchi that I'd bought from the store. Took those and threw them in the sauce that I made. I mean, I had fish sauce and Korean hot sauce and fermented them. And so we tried those this week and those were good. If you like spicy cabbage, spicy sauerkraut, I'm like I read somewhere about putting it on a hamburger and I'm like, oh, that's an idea.
Yeah.
If you like spicy.
Yes. Yeah, I don't like spicy. I was just going to say, I just got Napa cabbage that came in our real food bag. And I was like, yep. I was going to make your sauerkraut recipe that you shared with me. I was like, I wonder if this cabbage will work for this. But now you just happen to say that it makes the kimchi.
But you can make regular sauerkraut with it.
Yeah, I figured that's what I would do. Texture. That was my thing for tomorrow, is I was hoping to
make sauerkraut. Then it would be done. And if you use, I don't know if you bought the cultures.
Yes, I did.
So that's ready in like 3-4 days.
Okay.
Ready to go in your refrigerator and you could start eating it. You can eat it warm or I like it chilled.
Yeah, I like it chilled too.
So that'd be ready to eat in 5 days.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah. That's what I like about it. I had to use containers that didn't have a lid. So, cause I have airlocks. And so I had to do the old fashioned way, with put water in a Ziploc bag, put that Ziploc bag in a Ziploc bag. And then that was my cover. And then I used my weights, because I have weights, pebbles, whatever they're called, to hold that down. But now it's like, so I pulled it out. We had it for lunch yesterday.
So it seemed to work fine with just the regular radishes, because the Dankin radishes, I get those quite often in that food bag I was just talking about that
they're a little spice, but then these must be kind of spicy. I didn't eat one by himself to know, but radishes are kind of spicy by themselves. Yep. So that's what I figured. Okay, this is Jamie's version. As my husband says, a lot of recipes morph and they become Jamie's.
Yep. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yep. And so it's like, this is, it's not a Korean kimchi, Western Central Minnesota kimchi. There we go. Is that a thing now?
Yeah, maybe. You'll start a trend.
You use it with they made kimchi with what they had.
Right.
And so I made kimchi with what I had.
Yep. So it's just your version.
Instead of letting that 12 pounds go to waste. Mm-hmm. And it must have been sitting around before it was gifted to me, because the outer leaves were starting to turn lighter color and stuff. And I had to throw a few of the outer leaves away. So it's like, it needed to be used. It's a different variety. Yeah. And it's a vegetable
and it's fermented. That's the big thing, right?
Yep.
Is you got this fermented food that's so good for your gut.
Yeah, because actually my granddaughter is struggling with gut health, constipation and stuff like that. She's 3. Her mama said she's constipated again, and she brought
Grandma to the rescue.
I have Kefir and our freeze-dried fruit she loves, and so when I can get that in her and get some Kefir in her and stuff like that. I have some. It's called breakfast pudding, but it's Kefir, chia seeds, oatmeal, frozen fruit, and then like maple syrup. My husband calls it slime. But I like it. It's a quick, not that I eat breakfast in the morning. I usually eat it in the afternoon, but it's a nice snack.
Well, it sounds like it would be really
healthy.
And
my son, I used to feed it to my granddaughter when she was younger, and he's like, what have you got her eating? And I'm like, it's good for her.
Grandma goulash. No.
Yeah. It's like, well, and my grandson has a cough, and my daughter's like, okay, what are you doing for a cough? And I'm like, do this, 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 and this. It's like,
Yep.
And I'm going to do the same thing, because my granddaughter came with a cough yesterday. And so it's like, I made some honey onions. You put honey on some chopped up onions, and then you give them the juice that, the liquid juice.
Okay. So do you leave that sit for a certain amount of time?
I just did it until, this is TikTok. This is another thing I learned off TikTok, is until you're supposed to, they drained it after a few whiles. I'm just going to leave it sit and ferment. Mm-hmm. Because I do the same thing with garlic and stuff. And it's the liquid honey that's good. And so did my 3-year-old granddaughter like this? No. But her cough is much more productive. Her sinuses are draining clear. There's no green goo or anything and stuff. And she's like perky up and around, running around. Whereas yesterday, all she did was sleep.
Yeah.
And she's our typical 3-year-old, like jabbering away and, grandma, look.
And she's definitely feeling better.
Yeah, she's feeling better. And so, so grandma's.
Garlic is so good for you.
Garlic and onions.
And we're in flu season now.
Yeah. And so I learned on TikTok too, is that you cut onions up and leave them around the room. And so I did.
Yep, I've heard of that.
So I got onions. So if you came in my house probably smells like onions right now. But it's like, with what's going around for the little kids with respiratory issues and stuff like that, I thought I'm going to nail it and hit it
Yeah,
heavy.
I know RSV's going around. I've seen a few posts about that.
Yeah, it's big in schools right now and stuff. So I was just like, no. And she's in daycare. And so it's like, so I kept her home.
Cesspool.
My son goes, why, do you think she can go to daycare? And I go, no, she can just stay here. And she's having every day of grandma force feeding this stuff to her. She's not happy with it, but we have to coerce her to take it. It's like medicine. She goes, no medicine, but she feels better once it's in her.
Yeah, well, that's good.
Because actually, Bob, we were getting her to take this at lunchtime just before I came out here, he goes, my dad used to eat an onion sandwich every time he felt like he was getting sick. And I'm like going, okay. I could see the benefits of that. I mean, I do the same thing with raw garlic. If I feel something coming on, I will eat raw garlic. If I smell garlic, you know why.
She must be thinking she's getting sick.
Or there's somebody around me that's really sick and I don't want to get it. I'll do that too. If there's somebody around me sick and like, bring them on over. I'll start, give me some garlic too.
I'll get them treated.
I'll treat them and then I'll start eating
Dr.
garlic.
Jamie.
Start eating garlic so that I don't get it.
Other thing, I just thought of this just now. Jill Winger of the Prairie Homestead released her prairie planners back from the printer.
So you can go to her website.
Yes, you can go to her website and order it. 2/3 of them are already sold.
Oh,
when
do it quickly.
Came out. So if you're interested in it, Jamie has hers right in front of her.
Yep.
She actually has she actually did the download.
Yes.
And she's
printed it out.
Yep, printed it out, and she's got a binder and she's got it all fancy here.
Stuff that we've
Yep. And I am waiting for mine. Mine's coming from Jill. I have one ordered. And so I'll have the smaller version because I'll have the pocketbook size. You altered the version
I
to make
printed it at our business and so it came out full size.
Yep. So you've got a tablet.
Yeah, basically, which is just, it works good because it gives you more room to write.
Yes, it does. And I tell you, Jamie uses it because it is here in front of me and I can see she's got all kinds of notes on it.
Yep. And actually I took her project page and turned it into Two Gals Homesteading. So that's where I'm writing my notes for this. I need to turn my journal. Actually, I was saying that we need to write down what we're doing almost daily. So it's like, what have you been doing? I'm like, I don't know. What have I been doing? It's like Rich and I were talking earlier. It's like you study for a test. And as soon as you answer that question, it's like, I don't remember what I answered the question. It's done. It's out of my mind. I don't need to know it anymore.
Yep. So if you're looking for a really decent planner, go visit Jill over there at the Prairie Homestead. And
I love the looks of the outside of it.
Yep. She's old fashioned on purpose. And she's got this beautiful planner and she's got everything covered now. I think she's even got livestock section in there somewhere.
There's a gardening section. There's a kitchen inventory section, butchering. Oh, she even has conversions, like kitchen substitutes, conversions, conversions and mores. What's a gallon? A gallon is for, how many quarts, how many pints and stuff in that, and teaspoons. So
she's covered a lot, and it's a very thorough, well thought out.
Oh, a menu.
Book.
She has places to write menu ideas down too.
Oh,
yeah, menu ideas, entrees.
nice.
So to write down the recipes because I've done it. It's like, I cook. What do I cook? What do we want to eat?
Yeah.
I have no ideas. I have no idea what to do.
Yeah, I was just talking with Kelsey, and she's like, have you made tortillas? And I'm like, well, I have in the past. I haven't made tortillas for a really, really long time. But I said, I'm pretty sure Jamie's made them.
I've made them in the past too.
Yeah, and I said, I think she uses her discard from her sourdough.
I want to, but I've done that one time.
Yep.
But it was like, it's a time factor.
Yeah, and well, anyway, I'm like, oh goodness. She's like, because we're gonna have fajitas because I made bone broth from the beef shanks that I did a few days ago or whatever, and so now I'm going to utilize all that. And I'm like, gee whiz, girl. I want to be like you when I grow up. She's like, well, what can I say? I'm a planner. She says. So she would probably really benefit.
Yeah, she'd really like this. I'm kind of a wing it. She has a brain dump page.
Okay.
And I was the first month I used it because I added on because it's just January through December of next year, 2023. But since I had the digital form, I added 2 months. Mm-hmm. So I have November and December that I added in. And so, but I used the brain dump page, to get everything out of my head. And then at first, but then I turned into the weekly. I don't do a whole lot of where I need to plan out what, her weekly thing. That becomes my weekly to-do list. The brain dump has become big project ideas. Okay, these are things that we need to get done around the house, around the farm, at the business. Then the weekly, 6 to whatever time slot things. So this is what I need to do today.
Well, that's a good way to keep yourself organized, though. You see, you're much more organized than I am.
Oh, I don't know about that. I'm really good at making lists, but I'm not really good always. It's like I'll look back. I was like, oh, I did. And sometimes even just writing it down, it's out of my head, and I know I could go look, but I may not go back and look at that list. But it must be a thing where it's like I've written it down, so it happens somehow.
Okay.
I do seem to get more things done. And then even if because I'll have those days that, we all have those days. It's like, oh, I don't feel like doing anything, especially if it gets really cold, it gets below zero. All I want to do is come home from our business, sit down in a chair, give me a hot cup of tea and a blanket and a TV remote. And I'm there in the recliner, like just snuggling and stuff. And it's like, and I don't get hardly anything done. And then there are nights it's like I'm working until 10 o'clock at night, and then it's like, okay, let's go to bed. I'm not well organized.
I told Kelsey, I said, well, you're really, she's like, well, I'm a planner. And I said, well, this is why I have an Instapot, because at 4 o'clock, I'm like, what are we having for supper? And I'm like, well, I can always throw something frozen in the Instapot.
Yep.
And it'll be done by the time we're done with chores.
Yep.
So that's why I have an Instapot. I absolutely love my Instapot for that. And that's happened last night. I was like, oh, we don't have anything. I was like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to make a venison roast. This is my evening yesterday or my late afternoon. I'm like, okay. So I'm like, I go and I get the venison roast. Never made venison roast in the Instapot. So I'm like looking on, on the internet trying to find information. And I found this, I don't even remember what her name was, but she's the Huntress something, the Orange Huntress or something was her name. And she was making venison. And she's like, well, I've already taken the silver lining off of this before I froze it. And she had it was vacuum sealed and she's like, and it's frozen yet. And she's like, but because I know I cook it frozen, I always make sure I take that silver lining off. And I look at my roast and I'm like, I've got a frozen roast with the lining on. I'm like, okay, fine. So I wrap that back up, throw it back in the freezer, go down, grab another roast out of the freezer, a beef roast this time. Because I figured the other roast from the deer has probably got the same thing. So I'll get something familiar. So I bring that up here, unwrap that, realize it's too big for my Instapot. Let's try this again. So I go back down and I find another roast. That one was only like 2 pounds. And so it fit perfectly
in your Instapot.
I'm like, come on, people. I already have the squash and the potatoes and the carrots already in the oven ready to go. I just need a piece of meat. I was like, I might end up with a chicken but pretty soon here. But yes, I finally got it. And the roast was really quite small. We didn't even have any leftovers from it, but normally I do. But this was a really small roast because I knew it had to fit in the Instapot.
I've done the same thing. It's like, yep. Well, actually this week it was like, I kind of try to go through my refrigerator, weekly, bi-weekly and be like, oh, that's a science project that we don't need anymore.
Yep.
And I was like, kind of did that. Garbage is Sunday night at our house, because they pick it up Monday morning, like 8:30 in the morning. So you can't even get up in the morning to do it. You got to do it before. I was like, oh, there's a mess of leftovers in here. Monday or Tuesday, I didn't even cook. It was like, I took a dry erase and wrote on the outside of my refrigerator what was inside of it, thinking maybe somebody would eat some of it. But we cooked it. I mean, I didn't have to plan lunches those 2 days because I pulled out of the refrigerator. And it's like either use it or waste it and throw it away.
Yep. Yeah. Okay, so I think we're done.
We've been rambling for a while.
Yeah, we've been rambling for probably 2 hours. I don't know. But anyway, so once again, we'd like to thank PeteCoSupply.com for sponsoring our podcast. Make sure you check us out at twogalshomesteading.com. We're also on Facebook, Two Gals Homesteading, and we're on TikTok.
We have a video. We have a video up on TikTok.
Okay, and Instagram.
You're in charge of that. We do more over there.
Thank you for listening to the Homestead Podcast's latest episode. Your hosts, Carol Radke and Jamie Kappas, are Two Gals Homesteading. To learn more, go to twogalshomesteading.com or the Two Gals Homesteading Facebook page at facebook.com/twogalshomesteading. Editing, audio production, and marketing of the Homestead Podcast is the responsibility of Media Trends X. The Homestead Podcast is an audio product of Media Transex, a limited liability company based in Minnesota, USA.
We'd like to give a special thank you to PeteCoSupply.com for sponsoring our podcast. So until next time.
Put some kefir on it.